Okay, so the game that I decided to write my research presentation on is Elden Ring, and I decided to name my paper Elden Ring Create Your Own Experience. Okay, so as society progresses and technology rapidly evolves, our approaches to education need to as well. Traditional methods of instruction and supplemented by innovation, and a recent system that has gained increasing attention for teaching is video games. A game that shows the potential of learning in video games is Elden Ring, an incredibly complex game that encourages players to navigate challenges in ways that promote deep cognitive engagement. James Paul G. Principles of Learning and an article about social interaction in video games allowed me to view Elden Ring in a light that I may not previously have been able to. Elden Ring gives players the ability to freely roam its incredibly large map and explore at their own risk. By viewing the game through the lens of G's Principles of Learning, as well as the articles about social interaction, I was encouraged to explore my own identity, both create and adapt strategies, and strengthen the relationship with my brother throughout my experience of the game. James Paul G has another article that shows the value of learning through video games, titled Learning and Identity: What Does It Mean to Be a Half-Elf? This article discusses the importance of identity in video games. G points out that there are three types of identity: virtual, real, and projective identities. One's virtual identity is a virtual character in a virtual world. Next, one's real identity is a non-virtual person playing a computer game. And the last identity, and the most important in learning, is projective identity. This identity is the interaction and blend between a person's virtual and real identities. It reflects how players project their own values, beliefs, and aspirations onto their in-game characters or roles. The value of learning through video games is very clear when examining G's Principles of Learning. In his article titled Learning by Design Technology, he goes into depth about a variety of these principles and the positive effects that come from them. One of these principles is called pleasantly frustrating. This principle says that learning works best when new challenges are pleasantly frustrating in the sense of being felt by learners to be at the outer edge of, but within, their regime of competence. In video games, players should feel challenged, but not to the point where they see no progress or even end up quitting the game. The value of social interactions in video games becomes apparent when exploring the article written by Halbrook. Social gaming, involving cooperative or competitive gameplay, offers psychological and social benefits. Cooperative games, where players share goals, foster positive interactions, enjoyment, and reduced aggression compared to competitive games. However, these benefits are contingent on moderation and socially motivated gameplay, rather than the obsession of escapism. Studies show that moderate gaming for social purposes can lower depression, stress, and anxiety, especially when players have a strong social support both online and offline. Social gaming also promotes pro-social behaviors such as cooperation and relationship building. I've never played nor seen anyone play Elden Ring before I began playing. The only information that I had about the game came from minimal research and word of mouth from a few of my friends. At the beginning of the game, you are able to choose from 10 different characters with a range of abilities and attributes that can make the game both easier or more challenging. After this, I got to customize my character in a variety of ways. Regardless of my personal attributes and values, I was able to choose what I wanted my virtual character, named B Shiesty, to be like. Despite the option to create a character unlike myself, I wanted to feel like I was more a part of the game. This led me to choose the astrologer class, which is more intelligent but not as strong or powerful. I also experimented with the bandit class, which has higher dexterity but again a lower amount of strength. With this character I created in light of myself, it felt more natural interacting with NPCs and other players as I acted as I normally would in real life. After all this, I began actually playing the game. After a short tutorial, I began exploring the very large map of Elden Ring. The map felt overwhelming, especially when I realized that the handful of locations I'd seen so far were only a fraction of what was out there. I came across many weak opponents that I had to battle using the light attack and strong attack that I learned from the tutorial. However, This was short-lived as I quickly came across a boss battle. I tried using the attacks that I learned from the tutorial, but they didn't work and I was killed extremely quickly. When the moves I learned from the tutorial didn't work, I had to reevaluate my strategy. After many more attempts facing the boss, I came to realize that diving away from the boss would dodge its attacks. I realized that I was often too aggressive because I tried to get in as many hits as possible, only to be punished by enemy counterattacks. I had to learn the rhythm of each enemy's attacks by studying their patterns and looking for openings to strike. After many encounters with increasingly stronger opponents, I continuously adapted my strategy, developing an intuition for the game's rhythm. Elden Ring was by far the most difficult game I have ever played. There were countless times while I was playing that I wanted to give up. Some of the fights I would engage in seemed impossible, as there would be times where I felt like I was making no progress. One boss that I felt specifically this way about was called the Crucible Knight, which you can see here in this picture. This led to me getting very frustrated and was losing any enjoyment I had from playing the game. As I was playing, I came to find out that there was a way that you could actually play the game with other players by summoning them into your realm. I had told my brother about my experience playing the game, and he thought the game sounded interesting, provoking him to play it as well. This led to me this led me to try out the multiplayer function with him. After playing with him for a few hours, we not only beat the Crucible Knight, but I completely lost all annoyance and was just enjoying the game. While playing with my brother, I felt a sort of connection grow between us as we didn't have a lot in common. I was able to strengthen the relationship with my brother since we both enjoyed playing the game together. I believe that my experience throughout my 28 hours of playing the game Elden Ring was very valuable when looking at various experiences I had. At the beginning of my experience playing Elden Ring, there were seemingly limitless choices that I had regarding customization. This coincides with G's theories of learning and identity. All three identities were in play while I was playing the game. I created my virtual identity, B Shiesty, and was able to use him and experiment with various builds and strategies throughout my journey. My real identity was also present while playing the game and creating the character similar to myself. Then, my projective identity came into play various times while interacting not only with other players, like my brother, but also the NPCs in the game. Throughout making these decisions in the game with my projective identity, I was able to learn more about myself through these interactions. This felt as if I was in the domain of the game, giving me more of a sense of agency while I was playing. This allowed me to feel responsible for the actions and choices that I was making throughout the game. As I had mentioned earlier, there were countless times while I was playing that I wanted to give up, from dying many times towards the beginning due to unfamiliarity of the game, to being so close to defeating a boss just to die and start all over again. However, I gained more knowledge on the game and got a little bit better through every attempt or death that I had. Ultimately, it was the satisfaction that I felt after all the work I had put in to defeat each enemy that I faced that made me want to continue playing the game. This experience that I had aligns with G's principles of learning, the pleasantly frustrating principle. Although I had an immense amount of failures while playing Elden Ring, I adapted or changed my strategy, leading me to eventually succeed, as I did against the first boss that I encountered. This success after so many failures gave me a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that made me want to continue playing the game. Playing Elden Ring highlighted the importance of social interactions in video games, a concept supported by the article on the benefits of social gaming. Initially, the game's immense difficulty often led me feeling frustrated and disheartened, to the point where I lost pretty much all enjoyment. However, this changed when I discovered the multiplayer feature, which allowed me to summon my brother into my realm, which changed my experience. Together, we faced challenges that had once seemed impossible, such as the Crucible Knight, and I also found myself not only making progress, but also rediscovering the fun of playing. This aligns with findings of the Hellbrook article, which emphasizes that cooperative games foster positive interactions, increase enjoyment, and reduce negative emotions. The article stated that gaming for social purposes, especially with strong support from others, can lower stress and foster connection. My experience with Elden Ring reflects how social interactions in a video game can turn frustration into sort of a bonding activity, as it did with me and my brother. My experience shows how Elden Ring also allowed me to explore my own identity through James Paul G's principles of identity in video games. Through the use of G's identities, I engaged with the game in ways that I did not expect that I would at all. Elden Ring, which it was both challenging and pleasantly frustrating, taught me resilience and the importance of learning from failure and adapting strategies. I was also able to see the benefits of social interaction in video games stated in the Hellbrook article, while strengthening my relationship with my brother. In conclusion, I encountered a variety of experiences that I benefited from. I would recommend to everyone to play Elden Ring and to have the opportunity to create their own experiences, just as I did. And here's my bibliography.